feel like?
Hey there, can you please tell me?
What it feel like?
Hey there, can you please tell me?
Greetings I bring from y'all to all those now tuned in to Ajah Updates, where we comb through the headlines and check the temperature on how we feel about what's going on in this crazy world we're living in. Feel free to leave a comment if you know how far it goes down them rabbit holes, but do it in love so we can edify the brethren like iron sharpening iron, so we can all leave here feeling enlightened and inspired, you dig? Let's take a look at the impact of narratives and if those impacts are impacting. Normally back in the day you would turn on the TV or check your videos online to get a good idea on how the masses at large are feeling. But I don't know if it's just me, but nowadays when you do that, it's starting to feel more like the guy with the stopwatch who's swinging in your face telling you you're feeling sleepy while you're wide awake. Am I going crazy or am I being gaslit like a barbecue? The leaders right now are acting way too comfortable, feeling like we outside really rocking with them. Let's take a moment to see what the people in the bubble, where the shit don't stink, how they think.
America's economy is the envy of the world. How do we get that message out to voters?
Well, I used to say when I was speaker, I can bake the pie or I can sell the pie. It's hard to bake and sell at the same time. Mm-hmm. He's been working very hard, and now he has to sell it. Right. He has to sell it. And again, this is a very responsible, knowledgeable, values-based person who takes his responsibility seriously. Now it's time to campaign, make the public aware of it, and that's part of it.
Ready. The pie is ready. I just want to address the point that we've all just discussed about the protest that went on in the church. While I agree that perhaps that was not the right moment, I think it is something that President Biden and his administration must address. Oh, yeah. Because if you look at...
they are addressing it. I'm just saying, in that church at that time.
No, I agree with that, but what I
get making it impossible for us to travel, you know, in the tunnels I get all of that because couldn't get home yesterday.
Exactly. Yeah. But one of the things is there's this stark divide among young voters on the Israel-Hamas war, and the voting bloc who really supported Biden in 2020 over climate change says that the war in Gaza is an environmental justice issue, and they're going to abandon Biden over it. I don't believe that. These are just stats. The other thing is voters broadly disapprove 57% of the way Biden is handling this bloody, bloody war.
By next year, it'll be over, and then we'll move on to something else.
But the other thing, Joy, is that it's a generational issue. You have kids that are between 18 and 29, nearly three-quarters of them disapprove of the way this administration...
I know, but are they going to vote for Trump, who's going to take away their abortion rights and their voting rights?
They may not show up.
And Hunger Games lately be looking like a documentary. Now let's contrast that to how it's going down on the ground.
So I was a bit struck last week when I saw that they opened the pulpit up to Genocide Joe. Y'all can get mad, I don't care. And people, as he began to give his campaign speech, some protesters stood up and said, "Stop the blood in Palestine." They said, if you're outraged by the blood of Selma and you're outraged by the blood that was spilled in this very church, then how about calling for a ceasefire in Palestine, since you've given them the weapons, you giving them the support, you giving them the money? Joe, why don't you do something about it? They marched and stood up and got kicked out of the church, and people said, we're outraged. You know, I was outraged too. Yes, sir. How dare you use this sacred space? How dare you use this beloved pulpit? How dare you use this sacred tradition? How dare you use the words of Jesus, who overturned the tables in the temple, who was committed to overturning a Roman government, who was committed to speaking out against injustice? How dare you use this space as a shield for imperial war? How dare you use this space as a shield for violence? How dare you use this space as a shield for genocide?
This wasn't just a message to Israel. It was a message to Joe Biden. Use the US's leverage to stop the bombardment of Gaza.
He's not going to get reelected if he doesn't hear the people. We're out in the streets by the thousands, and he just chooses to ignore that we actually exist.
Listen to your constituents. Now. Stop ignoring your constituents.
Listen to reason.
The nickname for Biden right now is Genocide Joe. He has shown this time around, which is a bit different, is a complete and utter disregard for the value of human life.
For the protesters, this White House is directly responsible for the deaths of so many Palestinians. It's been reported that the Biden presidential campaign isn't that concerned. It's betting that by next November's election, this anger will have been replaced by fear of another Trump president.
Is it just me, or are we having a great disconnect? Leave a comment if you see what I'm seeing, or are we heading into the vision and the agenda of these mammon-worshipping elites who really butthurt were able to communicate freely amongst ourselves and form a contrary thought, which has them claiming things like this?
For a long time I was on Twitter, and now it's become such a toxic place that I've concluded it's not a worthwhile place to spend time. And as you've said, it is exhausting. So you do have to pick and choose. And you have to think about where the places where you can get your message across. I am trying to figure out, I mean, I have given up on X, what a scary name that even is, right? And I don't know what the alternative is right now.
Of course, on X, now there is also the policy of the owner that is problematic.
Fake news is the biggest risk which we face at the moment, because it can have enormous consequences for elections. It can change the context inside which we are living in the wrong way. I'm not so confident, but we have at least to undertake the necessary steps. And the key step is bringing governments and business together. And because only through cooperation of those two main pillars of society, integrating also civil society, you can create a kind of framework.
Are you worried about the US election in November?
Of course, I'm worried exactly for the fact that it may be very much influenced by fake news.
Final thought, on the list, for you, which is the biggest risk we face in the next next year to two?
I think the biggest risk we face is that we lose hope and that we lose trust into our institutions, and particularly trust in our capability to shape a better future. We have become too much pessimists. Look, humankind was driven, there was a paradigm, the narrative, to take care of the next generations, to take care of the neighbors. And we have lost this capability to a certain extent.
How do we get that back?
Look, the world is also full of opportunities. And the world, what's happening is not happening. We are the cause of what's happening. So we can construct the world of tomorrow.
Yo, man, this dude needs to stop playing with us and go all the way with it and get himself a mini-me like in Austin Powers. Or we're not going to take the benevolent oligarch serious when he's extorting us into eating bugs and owning nothing and having more lockdowns if we don't pony up and pay him his $100 bajillion dollars. All I'm saying is, if you're going to play the role, at least do it right, because, you know, we deserve better. Especially for what they're trying to put us through, trampling on our civil liberties and taking our sovereignty in exchange for their centralized grip on power. Because the people are getting fed up and starting to lose their appetite for agendas. Being force-fed group thinking into the population is starting to have a reverse effect, and trying to shame the people into conformity is creating a backlash where the elite gatekeepers are in limbo trying to figure out who they're going to use to influence the people into doing what they want. Like, for example, rap legend extraordinaire Jay-Z just dropped a movie named The Book of Clarence, which normally would have had a huge success being backed by a rap icon of that magnitude, but there isn't a blind devoted support like how it used to be when their projects or their products are being dropped. Check this out.
And we just have to say this. We have to support our own. Like, we have to support when we do these type of movies. We have to go. We have to support. If we can't, we got to buy a ticket. You know, you're talking about Color Purple that came out about a month ago. You talk about Booker Clarence that came out, a week ago?
Listen, everything you saying sound good, but these people ain't going to listen. These Negroes is not going to listen, okay? Color Purple made $55 million with a $140 million budget. Booker Clarence had a $40 million budget. It made $3 million this weekend. These Negroes ain't listening. We just talk.
Well, how Beyonce did? We supported Beyonce, right?
Oh, Beyonce ain't got no movie. Renaissance did
Renaissance.
good. Renaissance actually did better than both those movies.
Damn. All right, well.
In the year of our Lord in 2024, these people really felt like in a time like now where people are feeling like they're living in the last days, that it'd be an opportune time to make a movie. For full disclosure, I haven't seen it, but from the outside looking in, has the appearance of being blasphemous and is mocking God. The energy to galvanize the people to adhere to their messaging seems to be waning, which gives me faith in humanity, and it also makes me question, what are they going to use to roll out to convince us to vote for status quo, Joe, genocide, and Biden? Leave a comment and tell me who got the juice to sheep herd the people into falling in line. If you know, you know. Consider yourself updated for now until next session we link up. Spread love and walk good, you hear? God bless, fam.